So what's your name?
Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Michael, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Right here downtown, originally since 1970.
You were
Yeah.
born downtown.
No, I was born in Tijuana, Mexico, but my mother was already married here in America with my dad, who was from the Navy. She went to visit my aunt, and I was born there in Tijuana.
Oh, I
But
see.
she was already living
But you,
here with
you were
home
raised down here?
since birth. I've been here since birth. Yeah.
So tell me about growing up on Skid Row.
Wow. Well, it's been a journey, an adventure. It's like a scary Las Vegas. I gotta say,
Yeah,
like
it
a
is.
dangerous Tijuana mixed with a dangerous Las Vegas. I gotta say, and it's pretty mild today because shortly back in the day, new people couldn't just stand at the corner. 15 minutes, they'd be asked to keep it moving, or they would be unconscious and robbed. It was that bad, that bad. Me standing right there for some reason. I've never been bothered. They've accepted me, but I've witnessed the harshest, the most ruthless, um, and just I wouldn't recommend it. But then again, there's something that draws you to it. It's addicting. They say many come to LA to find their Hollywood, and many get lost in their Hollywood here. Same with Skid Row. Many people come and don't make it out or leave with nothing, and worse than they ever. You gotta be very very strong minded because it's a world of sharks.
Yeah. You live here currently?
Yeah, yeah.
So you never decided to leave.
I I left once or twice for a short time, but it's so much that's here. For example, from there's a lot of blessings, but also there's the meals out here, and then the small resources that just help you through a day. Nothing you can count on, but it does help here. So you get addicted to just being near your safe haven, even though it's dangerous. It's kind of a safe haven too.
How did you grow up? I mean,
Well,
these streets aren't meant for kids.
yeah, well, at the time when I was a kid, my parents had jobs on opposite sides of town. One on Second in Los Angeles, one on Ninth in Maine. So as a kid, they would babysit me, and I would have to run across town. And I wasn't supposed to go through Skid Row or anything, but I got to be honest. As a horny little kid, I would go through where I'm not supposed to. And they used to have back in the day, the hookers were working out of the adult theaters that were on Main, and you could see that today on Beretta and Starsky and Hutch, where they chase the criminal and they go through the theater. And well, as a kid, I was supposed to go through Broadway, but the posters and the adult theater and then the pimps outside and the Cadillacs was so interesting that I would always go where I wasn't supposed to, and it became addicting. That I met a lot of people as a kid. I was too young to know so much, I gotta say, and I think that's what made me fortunate to be able to sit everywhere comfortably because I don't know very many people who can just walk in all corners of Skid Row safely.
And it became comfortable for you?
It became comfortable for me. A lot of people were kind. I know some people were where I shouldn't go, where I shouldn't be, but for some reason you just happen to be at the wrong place at the right time. And I've known since a kid three monkeys. I see nothing, I hear nothing, I say nothing, and it's really really a strong rule. And I've known that since a kid. So I guess through all the hard things I've saw, I got by it just by minding my business. My brother used to say the hardest thing in life is for one to mind one's business, and so I've learned to live that way, and it's really blessed me. But
What are some of the craziest things you've seen down here?
I've seen from back when I was young.
You remember the Frontier Hotel, right?
Yeah, the Frontier. I remember from back when I was young, as far as today, back from the 90s and 80s, on the first, when they used to give out food stamps, paper, not a card, guaranteed a body would be flying out the window. They knock on your door, rampage, just run in your room, grab your stuff, throw you out the window. And my dad used to tell me about it, and I didn't realize how real it was as I was growing up and witnessed. I gotta say, since a kid, I probably witnessed 15 corpse flying out a window. And out of the 15, six.
Out of which buildings?
Well, one of them was the Standard Hotel, the Alexandra, the Roslyn.
Which used to be the Frontier.
Was
The
it?
new Roslyn is the old Frontier.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that part. Yeah, and I remember the Frontier, and the Roslyn warehouse, the Standard, even Second and Fig. It's called they're called the Promenade Towers, I think. Promenade Towers.
And Cecil too.
The Cecil, I didn't witness it, but I was in the environment at that time.
They're all in the same
Yeah,
5 block area.
yeah, they are. They are. The one of the most recent one was the Standard. It was a rainy day after the club, 3 a.m, and the bar. I just hear the thump. You could hear the splat of the blood hitting the wall. That's actually what I heard after the thump. I could hear like a hose going. Whew. And that's when I looked, oh my God. And that dude was on his neck. His neck was totally shifted. And there was one here at Second and Fig, the Promenade Towers. We were underneath the liquor store and we heard a thump at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. It was raining. And next thing you know, the water's turning red and we didn't think anything of it. We were joking. It looks like blood. And it wasn't until we hear the sound of the paramedics. Hey, maybe we realized that a lady jumped from the top floor and hit the solid eave over there and splattered. It was the patio upstairs, landed in a woman's patio, and the blood was trickling down in front of the store, and we were just sitting there like, wow. But those are mild compared to some of the shootings and deaths, because I've been 2 feet from shootings, and luckily. I just put my hands on my face and said, hey, I don't know anything, man. And I started walking away hoping that they don't shoot me. But I just put my eyes on my face, walked away. And those are scary things. Yeah. I understand people get postpartum depression, from like, these things are enough to get PTSD, enough for someone to develop that just from the dramatic thing they witnessed. And but I guess I'm so used to it since a kid. Like I've seen here's one. I was about 12 years old and I witnessed a man get robbed so hard with a pipe on Main Street, Main and 3rd Street at the corner bar. 35 years, 40 years later, I'm at a Famima, a little restaurant, kind of Starbucks thing. They went out of business, but it was kind of like a Starbucks. And I meet this man that looks so familiar to me, and he's telling me a story. Oh, I don't mind. It's not dangerous for me. I've been robbed before, and I'm Irish. I can hold my own. And it turns out to be the guy who was robbed when I was a kid. I told him the story. He told me the story. We confirmed, and it was amazing. And he still had the scar on his cranium from the big hit with a pipe. And just witnessed so much. Robberies. I remember... I knew this person, miscellaneous. They were telling a story about the tunnels under downtown. There's many tunnels. So this guy, to confirm it, went and they realized it leads underneath the electronics shop on Spring, which no longer exists. They closed that shop. It's a restaurant now. So they get caught. He gets deported. He comes back, gets re-deported. And that was an interesting story that we were just reminiscing about the tunnels underneath downtown. And the guy took advantage, went and he grabbed some TVs, but they caught him. And he's currently in El Salvador deported. Poor guy. But just so many ruthless stories. Lots of overdoses in my face. A friend of mine just died at the YMCA. I was begging him to let me be there while he uses because I could resuscitate him. But he just said, I don't deserve to see it. No, Mike, you don't deserve, you don't do this, you don't. And I'm like, come on, I begged him. And the next morning, his brother's calling me screaming, my brother's at the YMCA dead. And then that one, I still feel that one because me and the guy was young and we used to sit for hours every night before we each went our own way. I would give him a little food or he'll give me a little pot. I'll give him $1 or $2. He'll give me, a beer, whatever we had, we would share it. And when he died, that one affected me out of all the deaths I've ever seen because I shared time with this kid, And here's a terrible thing about downtown, totally off subject, that I witnessed It's a psychotic topic that people can't comprehend, but I witnessed. I believe about 5% of every building here of those people are involved in gang stalking because there's been people on drugs who I'm across the street. I'm sitting at the Grand Park where the courthouse is. And this one particular guy who just died, I'm speaking of, I could see him at the corner, paranoid, screaming at people. But then again, I seen cars circling him and parking and pointing the lights at him and people walking dogs around him. Like, the idea of that is for him to outburst, he gets arrested and they got him the area. They got him out of the area, or he goes crazy and kills himself, and or he gets arrested for whatever reason. And I've seen this occur with many people. And since they're on drugs, who's going to believe them? But I firsthand am the guy who wasn't on drugs, observing from across the street, and that's a terrible thing, you know.
So gang stalking is what?
It's where there's groups that get together, sometimes through email, through organizations, and they maybe want you out of the area. So they'll tend to, there's tactics like you'll tend to notice wherever you sit, a car will park in the angle, they have the high beams pointing at you at all time. It could be a lady all of a sudden standing next to you with a dog and another guy's on right a foot away during COVID even, when you're supposed to maintain distance, and they're just standing there with the leash, hoping you get irritated and move on. Or they'll whisper things, and you would never guess they're saying it because they don't know you. You don't know them. It's totally different culture. It could be a Caucasian man. It could be an Asian man, but to the point where you're the only one hearing it because you don't realize they're doing it to you. And I'm saying this because I witnessed this. I would tell my friend who died, be strong. I want you to know something. They are messing with you. They are following you. And realize it. Don't react. Be strong. Don't react. But it got to him. He was at the point where he was already outbursting, fuck you, lady. Or, you know what? And people were beating him up constantly. And I saw it's for real. And that's one thing I like to bring up, that it's a terrible thing, because in Vegas, when that thing happened in Vegas, I believe I would have saved 95% of the people. The other 5%, I'd say, I'm sorry. You're probably statistically involved in that, and you probably deserve this. You know, they're hidden killers. Hidden killers. My friend could have jumped off the bridge. Could have, done something crazy based on these people doing that to him. And nobody will believe him because he's on drugs. And that's very sad. And I'm here to say it's for real. So best thing to do is when you come to downtown is keep your nose clean and don't irritate anyone, because it's kind of a united community, the whole Los Angeles,
And drugs have not been a part of your life?
Yeah, I got to say on and off, I'm not going to lie. I'm a guy that sits on everybody's table. And so I'm a guy that never has to pay. You know how hard it is for someone like me to fight, to not receive, to not use, because when you have a big family, you don't charge your family. It's all love. It's gifts. Hey, man, you okay? Here you go. Hey, are you okay, man? Well, and I could use some pot. Well, he'll hand it to me. And, hey, man, you okay? He'll hand me dope. And with no request, with no, I'm not even seeking it. On a daily, I can walk out of here and have a handful of something. And it's a real big challenge to not indulge. So try and imagine the tourist or the new person, where there's so many salesmen just throwing it at you, throwing it at you, throwing it at you. It's a matter of time before your cravings start to have a taste buds for it, and you're involved in the life. I've been strong, so I'm grateful, but I have dabbled throughout my weary walk. And I gotta say that I'm one that if I make a left, I realize it's time to go back on the main highway, a figure of speech, because I have many friends, my friends from Ohio. I have a friend from Chicago who are still here, and they're not doing as well. Downtown's eating them up alive. But yeah, I've dabbled. I gotta say I've dabbled in a little bit of everything. No fentanyl, no heroin, but I did, heavy duty on the meth for a minute, and PCP, whatever. I don't even base it on me wanting it. It's based on the environment. This guy throws it out there. Everyone's having fun. Okay.
Skid Row is just a party.
It's just a part of me, yeah. And
No, but it's a party.
it can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
I mean, it can be violent as can be, but for most people, it's just a never-ending party.
The enticing of women is an incredible thing, you know. First, give them everything they want. Hey, girl, you need help, and they buy them the soda, and then hey, you could stay here. Buy their tent. Yeah, don't worry. The girl feels comfortable, so she starts playing songs. By nighttime, he's kind of playing, constantly pulling out the stuff, lights it up for her. Doesn't really want to, but then she takes a hit. After that first hit, everyone's encouraging. Here, take another, take it. By morning, she's a zombie. After a couple of days with her in the tent, one, maybe two, three guys, they don't want her anymore. They throw her out and she walks about crazy. And you know what's one thing that they after that process where they throw her out of the tent and she moves on, she'll walk around with a t-shirt as a dress.
Yeah, you see that all the time.
Yeah, the t-shirt will be the dress. They leave with no shoes, nothing, and it's a terrible thing. I've seen deterioration of the best become the worst, but I've seen many persevere too, and it's dangerous. It was so dangerous that if it wasn't a robbery, it was just somebody getting punched out or somebody overdosing. There used to be a lot of beautiful women in Skid Row, all high as hell, all high as hell. But I gotta say, wow, I can't believe she's here. Oh my God, she's new. And a couple weeks later, it was like, damn, damn. That's my only expression. It's like, what happened? And
how many years have you been here?
Since 1970. But
how old are you now?
I'm 52.
You're 52.
Yeah.
So how has Skid Row changed over the years?
Today, it's mild. It's very mild. There's a lot
But
of
there's still people dying every day.
Yeah. But,
Murders and overdose.
But the drugs are heavy duty always. Something that there's some things you won't change. You'll never change the cartels, because there'll be another to take over. They'll never change certain things. And one thing about downtown is that panhandling is from out of town. You got people I'm from Ohio, I'm from Idaho, and they panhandle. In downtown, you hustle. Everybody has a hustle. Because even the OGs or even the women will tell you after too much leaning on them that, can I get some credit or can I have a service? Hey, you need to get a hustle. So people, it's kind of motivating that you get up and find something, Back in the day, I used to pick up these phone wires on a daily. And every day I'd go to the library, I'd sell about a good $14 worth of wires I picked up daily. And I stayed a good hour over there, and someone always comes out, hey, do you have a USB? Hey, do you have a charger? So once it was sunflower seeds. They gave them out at the mission. I got 12 bags, 2 for $1. You know what I mean? And so without a hustle, there's no drug. There's no T-shirt you might want to buy. There's no, so everyone has to have a hustle. It's so important for downtown. Panhandling is from out of town.
Have you stayed in a tent before?
Huh?
Have you stayed in a tent before?
I used to always do boxes,
Yeah, so a long time ago, there were no tents.
There was all boxes back in the day. Yeah. And tents are actually new, maybe 20 years.
I think I started coming down here 13 years ago.
Yeah, and tents.
And there were, I don't think there were tents then. They would pop up at night sometimes, but during the day you'd not see them.
About 2012, tents started coming out,
Yeah, I came down.
And there was a problem with that. People, there was a big problem with that. They didn't allow it and they didn't like it and you got to tear it down. Mm-hmm. But everyone persevered. They made the new rule that, okay, but you got to tear it down at 6. Yeah. But I always use boxes because, for one, I was never one to want to stay in the tent throughout the day or leave property and it's stolen. So I would always get 3 boxes and make a pill. The center one opens like a space shuttle, and it gets so warm that I would literally sleep with shorts and a T-shirt, even on rainy days. Another one, the detour signs that have a light that flash. If you open 3 of them in, that's a tent in itself. So I would always get those and put them in the same area. I'll pile 3 and then 3 on the other side of town, so that whenever I go, the city never picks them up. I can utilize those for emergency shelter. I would just put cardboard on the 2 walls, open 3 up, and
Yeah, Skid Row is unique because the police will roll by and just No, they'll see people doing everything
Yeah,
illegal.
yeah. It's so casual, and then that's the thing. But then again, the outsider stands out because there's a casual way how everyone does everything, and the outsider comes and he's loud. He's running across the street. He's waving you down from a distance. Those are many things you don't do, you know. And so it takes time. I see many tourists and new people get beat up a few times before they become this hip guy. You know, 7 years later, they know all the ropes. They're telling other people, "Yeah, you gotta cook. Yeah, you gotta keep it down." But I remember when they came in and they had to get a couple of fatties before they developed that character of
You
being.
never had the desire to leave Skid Row or do something different?
You know what? I've been through some hard a lot of misfortune. When I was working in downtown, I scorpion landed on my face with my feet being behind my neck. So surgery kept me from working. Where am I gonna go? You know, the resources are here. I could
A
not.
scorpion downtown?
No, when you that's when you fall and land on your face and your feet go behind your neck.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I have 10 pins in my neck right now.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that's recent from my last job. But just many misfortunes. Here's another one. While I was working from the street, my company was really defrauding me with insurance so bad that I couldn't afford my rent. And I said, you know what, I'm going back on the street. I preferred having a big plate over, I said, you know what, forget this apartment. I really love to eat. I want a big plate. And I turned in when I was at the Roslyn, I turned it in just because I wanted a bigger plate.
Some people prefer living on the streets.
Sometimes you have to see. That's the thing.
I don't think they feel comfortable with an apartment.
Some people are so accustomed to it. It's like I stood at a place once where they were helping for about 3 months, and they were already preparing me to move me here and move there. I said, "Hey, I feel like Tarzan. When they gave him a shirt, what did he do? He went right back to the jungle. You got to give people time to domesticate again, you know, and realize, oh, I got to be in that 10. Well, you know what? Just to realize you're inside an environment. To this day, sometimes I'll visit a relative because I have relatives, one or two, not very many, and I can't be in the car long. I need the window down. I'll be in their house and they'll say, you can spend the night. And I'll say, no, you know what? I need the air. I can't even stay in the closed environment air. I'm not claustrophobic, but when everyone goes to sleep in the house, I don't care if it's a 5-bedroom. I could hear you breathing 4 bedrooms away because you have to be so alert being on the street. You know, the one eye open thing, that I've learned to always hardly sleep and to always be slightly awake and to be always aware of my environment, that if I go to anybody's home and I don't spend the night anywhere because I could hear the person breathing 4 rooms away. I could hear the person approaching the porch on the door. In my book, all that sounds like creeping. And when you're out there, you got to be safe, and you just learn to. You know, I could sleep next to a train and sleep like a baby, but if somebody's tiptoeing near me, I will get up in a minute. It's amazing. Creeping wakes me up. I can't express it.
Do you have kids?
I have 2 girls. Yeah. That was another thing. At the time, I was working at Albertson in Highland Park when they were on strike. That was 20 years ago, something like that, 15 years. And so, again, I ended up in downtown, became a courier in downtown. And here I am. That's how I scorpioned. When I was at Albertsons, I was also living on the street because of a lot of support. And I rather give my girls the money that I would stay outside at the park and then show up every day and walk them to school and then pick them up at school, bring them back, maybe stay for some homework. And I'd go off to work graveyard, and the next day I'd do it again. And always telling my girls, Daddy has to go home. They never knew I was on the street. I would say, Daddy has to go home because he has to go to work. And I would just show up the next morning to take him to school, take him to work. And
What is it that you think keeps most of these people down here?
a lot of it, I got to say, is...
They don't want to get jobs. They don't want to get out.
A lot of it, I got to say, is dependency. A lot of it is dependency, you know.
Addiction.
Here, you know, a lot of youngsters are out on the street because, and they won't tell the truth, it's not even for drug habits. A lot of youngsters who are fighting for SSI won't pay their parents a few dollars after they get their job after high school. They start buying their Jordans, they want the cameras, they want to go tell people I'm a rapper and stuff. And this has always gone on, you know, that the parents get tired because they're putting up the food, and this guy's just, at least if you give your mom $20, she'll be, you know what I mean? But they don't, so they get thrown out. A lot of them do. And that's a big problem, that they won't admit that they don't help their parents. You know what I mean? So when they have to go on their own, they end up with the friends, they end up there, they end up here, and things only get worse. That's for the youngsters. But then there's the people who know. Here's one. A lot of people who slam, burn their bridges where they're at. In Ohio, the whole town. Then they go to Chicago. Then they go to, and they burn their bridges. Then they come to LA. And they do the same thing. They'll hang out and be your good friend, and they'll share drugs with you. And just as they got so many loans and haven't been able to pay back, they'll get one more final loan from a friend, get some stash, and they end up I went to Nebraska, and they do that. A lot of people who slam will just move on after they burn their bridges, and I catch all. I'm really sharp on all that. That's why I tend to make friends to a point. And as soon as I can tell what your flavor is, I know how much of myself to offer, like how much confidence, how should we hang? Oh, they say, let's go here. I'll say, oh, you know what? I'll just meet you here when you get back. I've learned to, because it's only going to lead to worse. But drugs is a big one. And
it's hard for you to be clean and be surrounded by all these people that are on drugs?
It's a challenge. For me, I do pretty well. But I can imagine, because like I said, I have a big family out there. I could walk in every corner and I know someone, and they gratuitously, with it's like love they give you. It's like comfort. It's like, how you doing? You all right? Hey, well, here you go, man, and be good. You could either sell it to make yourself a few dollars to eat. You can use it if that's what your flavor, or you could just barter and trade to get some material things. Like I was craving a speaker one day. My friend gave me some meth. I wasn't craving meth. A guy wanted meth. I got my speaker, So sometimes it's a commodity. Here's an interesting one that got me here for several years. I used to make my money on barter and trade, not even drugs. People would come with 7 iPhones. I want $30 a piece. And I'd go 2 blocks away and get 150 a piece. And so I'd give him his 30 a piece. I made my week. Another guy had speakers. A Japanese guy came, and he had a big bag of pot, maybe a Glad bag, 15-gallon, 20-gallon bag. And he just needed a bike. So another friend had a bike. How much do you want for it? I gave him the $10 for the bike. I gave the Japanese guy the bike. He gave me the $1,000 bag of kush. And I used to make my money just on barter and trade until they started cleaning up Skid Row. A lot of the dealers disappeared. All the women that would really rock Skid Row, a lot of the hustle, a lot of the danger went away, And so there's no real big barter and trade for me anymore. It's really a struggle on a daily. I'm happy to make 7 on the day. 11 bucks on the day, everybody knows me, so I might go get some food for this person. I might go and here's one. They say, why don't you work for Uber? Because I only serve my community. If you're past Broadway or past Central, call Uber. Because what Uber doesn't do, when my community doesn't have money, I will still go get it for you. That's the difference. Uber won't do that for you. I only serve my community, and that's where I get a lot of love. Because they remember, hey man, you took care of me, and I feel richer than hell, just based on the goodness from this dark environment where I'm at,
Michael, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
To be honest, to keep it humble, sincerely speaking, to not tell stories, to mind my business, and I know this sounds corny. In spite of walking weary and through the dark sides and maybe dabbling with a little of this and a little of that, but spiritually walking, sharing goodness, because keep it humble, so important. When I was with the most ruthless people, just being me, not telling stories, kept me alive. Because I noticed when a new guy would come in and he's, where I'm in New York and I got in Chicago, we do it like this. Those guys would always get beat up sooner or later. Because I've learned to say less and just be humble. You know, be courteous, be kind. Don't be a wuss, but just don't talk too much when you come to Skid Row. You know? It's better to listen, hear the stories. But nobody likes a guy that comes over here telling a lot of stories, a lot of stories. A lot of people come and film and claim they came out of Skid Row and just for the glory of my struggles. And I've seen them get beat up because they're that's terrible to fake the funk, you know. But I gotta say, staying humble and don't tell stories and don't ever jack anyone. Don't borrow. I learned never to borrow. All these little things are so important. If I don't have it, I don't want it. You know, I don't want it on credit because anytime somebody offers you something, hey, you could take care of me later. I always tell them, I'd rather keep the friendship because once you owe, that friendship thing ended. It goes to death. It goes to stitches. It goes to 4 guys just popped out of nowhere and just cracked you. And so that's for real. Keep it humble. Keep it real. Don't tell stories. And another thing is, I believe party hard, rock and roll hard, but wake up the next morning. Don't be a lazy ass laying around. It's good to wake up the next morning because the early worm gets the bird, gets the barter, gets the blessing, gets the trade, you know, found the coins on the floor. And all this became me. I'm totally downtown. To this day, I don't think I want to go anywhere else. I never left LA. I don't think I want to go anywhere else.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for
Thank you,
sharing your
man.
story.
I hope it was useful, okay?
Yeah, man.